I'll explain it like this. If 2 years ago, me had woken up with the body I have now, I would be just as insecure as I was, because it was a complete mental mindset thing. No matter what you necessarily look like, your mind is always going to lie to you. It's convincing you that you look ways that other people don't see. It is always going to do that to you no matter what. I could have woken up with Kim Kardashian's body the next day, and I would have been just as insecure, because it was such a mental block. It was mental conditioning of years and years and years. Like, you might be pretty, kind of, but you're not this pretty. And then I heard a quote. It's like, flowers are beautiful and so are Christmas lights, and they look absolutely nothing alike, but it doesn't take away from either of their beauty.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode number 77 of the Conscious Cast. I'm your host, Cal, along with my great friend, Ms. Delia Mcguire. For those who don't know, Ms. Delia is a student here at Central Connecticut State University. She's the area supervisor of fitness programming here at Rec Central. She's also a construction management major, and she's a badass, okay? So that's why we're having her on the podcast today. How are you doing?
I am ecstatic. I am very ecstatic. I have always been seen podcasts. I'm like, oh, I wonder what my intro would sound like, and that lived up to probably every expectation.
Oh, nice, awesome, sweet. Yeah, so for those who don't know, Delia is a great person, and she has a lot of insight, and we're gonna have a great conversation today, and I think we're gonna have a lot of messages that a lot of people can learn from.
Definitely.
So, I mean, how are you doing in general? How is life? It's going well?
It's good, yes.
Yeah.
Getting back into sort of the school part of everything, with break coming to an end, but life is good. I have far few complaints right now. I'm a very blessed human being, definitely.
So you grew up in Boston, right? And you not too far from here. Currently we're in New Britain, Connecticut. But yes,
Hardware City.
Hardware City. So what brought you here to Central? What brought? Because I know you said you didn't mind growing up in the city, right? Mm-hmm. But you kind of wanted to get, not at, because you didn't live directly in the city, right? No. You lived kind of in a suburb kind of area, right outside the city, right?
Yes, definitely. So originally I am from Braintree, Massachusetts. Mm-hmm. So it's South Boston, Quincy area. That seems to be more of the well-known spots. Mm-hmm. But so it's right there, right tucked underneath South Boston. Mm-hmm. And I get that question all the time from students at CCSU, because I feel like Central is one of those schools that it's you go to a lot of times if you're in the area type of thing. Not too many people, especially if they're not sport affiliated, coming in from out of state, because obviously I'm not playing any Division I sports here. But what really sent me here was my major. So I am, like you said, I'm a construction management major, and so I was looking into schools, and so there's this thing called an ACCE certification when it comes to construction management programs in schools, and only 3 schools that I'm aware of in my research had that certification in New England, and Central was one of those schools that happened to give me the most money.
There we go.
And I've always said I love my home. I love where I'm from. I love everyone from there, for the most part. No, I'm serious.
You know who you are.
I'm kidding. I really do. I really think it's a great place. But I knew going into school, I wanted to go somewhere where I felt that I was far enough away that I'm starting this journey on my own, that I'm really doing it by myself. I'm really big on independence, not having to rely on parents. Obviously I rely on my parents all the time, but not really necessarily needing to, and I felt like I was just ready to get out of the routine I had known for 18 years. But that being said, I am very close with my mother, and I will not go too far with her.
Because you're always driving home.
I know. I go home freaking late, because I wanted that also availability to be at a school where I'm far enough away, like I said, that I feel like I'm on my own, but I can also go home on the weekends when I really need to, because I am a homebody.
Drive 120 down the highway.
No, yes. I've actually gotten pulled over twice on my way home from CCSU to home, but that's fine. But really, I am a little bit of a homebody. It's just when I have those days, what I look for isn't necessarily to be alone. It sometimes can, but to be alone at home with my family, with my cat, my friends around
Dude,
the
all
corner.
right. A little side note: cats are so much better than dogs.
Okay, all right.
But that's for another. No.
I like both. I was such a dog. I was like dog to like die. Like I only cats. Like get that cat away from me. You know, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
and then I got a cat.
Yeah.
And it really does. No, it changes. It changes. It changes everything.
Yes.
I swear, when you have your own, and it's just like, you realize not all of them are just vicious and mean. And, I can't, like, the cat and dog debate is one that I can't do because I genuinely
No, I mean, okay.
love
To be
it.
fair, I've never had a dog before, so I am incredibly biased.
You
in
can
that.
the only people who can truly answer the cat versus dog debate are people who have had both.
Exactly.
I have had both.
My
And I
cat's
can't
an
answer
asshole.
the debate, so actually, never mind.
You haven't had a dog?
I have had a dog. I did have a dog.
Oh, so you haven't had a cat?
I have a cat. No, I have had both.
You've had both. Okay,
Yes.
I'm not listening. So.
No, you are. I know.
Yeah.
It's because I'm confusing.
Yeah.
It's that I have had both, but I still can't make the decision. That's why. 'Cause they're too different.
It's okay. Why do they have to be compared
Why
to
are
each
you
other?
comparing? Why are we
dude.
comparing
Are we
apples and
judging?
oranges right here? Come on.
Oh, but yeah. So, like, when you moved to Connecticut, when you moved here when you were 18, 17, right? Like, I mean, that's a huge jump, right? Like, that's, I mean, at least in my opinion, like, I live 5 minutes away from here,
Yeah.
right? And like, so, I mean, like, yeah, I moved on campus, but like, my mom works here, right? Like, so, I was pretty much like still at home in a sense, right?
Yeah.
I mean, to travel like 2 hours away, may not seem that bad, but it's a lot, you know.
So it's funny. Out of the entire 4 years at CCSU, I have never had anybody from my high school also attend this school. Not anybody from my hometown.
Yeah.
Nobody that I've ever known has come to this school.
Wow.
Besides one, I did know one of my friend's older sisters played soccer here, but she graduated the year before I got here. So it really was one of those things that I was like, wow, like no one I know goes here.
Yeah.
And I think I also kind of liked it for that
Yeah,
reason, you know what I mean? Because it is different. I was diving into a completely different experience.
Absolutely.
And I also, I don't know, but I also wanted that freshness. And it's not necessarily saying that, like, if kids from my school had gone here, it would have deterred me from coming to the school. It really didn't come down to that.
Okay.
But I did think of it as more of a plus, whereas some people might have thought of it as a minus. I saw it as like I can really come here and not reinvent myself because I wasn't trying to get away from anyone who I was, but like it really did feel like a fresh start.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I was completely starting over, and that like in this clean slate, like I can really become myself. You know.
Yeah,
That makes
interesting.
sense.
Yeah, and I think so. Kind of taking like a more broad approach to that. Like, so would you say? Because I mean, would you say coming to Central was like one of the biggest decisions? Like most like on a scale of like diving into the unknown, would you say that's like up there as like one of your biggest things?
Of things that I've done in
Yeah,
life.
like just completely going in like blind, you know, because you have no idea how it was going to turn out.
I hadn't even toured the school before I got
Wow.
here.
Holy crap.
Because when I applied, it was COVID was like everything.
Damn. Yeah, that's
so
tough,
they weren't doing tours anymore. It's funny, my parents and I actually drove down here on our own one time and just like wanted to like walk around, and we ended up getting spoken to by a CCSU police officer saying we had to leave. But he actually ended up being pretty nice and showing us around a little bit. But no, I really didn't know anything about the school, anything about the
Especially
campus.
during COVID. Oh my God, damn.
Especially.
And do you feel like, I mean, like, what do you feel like you've, like, looking back on that, like, do you, I mean, obviously, you don't regret it, right?
Yeah.
Like, no, you feel
No.
like you've learned a lot from that?
Yeah, and so at first, it's funny,
Because,
because
like,
you're
you
like,
said it helped you become who you, or, like, you're going to be who you are, right?
exactly,
Like,
yeah. So taking like a little bit of a step back, I was never, I don't want to say that like I was ever necessarily trying to ever be anybody else necessarily, but I think throughout especially the first 18 years of my life, especially middle school, high school age, I am like totally, I was an NPC. I literally was an NPC. And like, and I'm saying that in a way, it's not that I didn't have original thoughts and I didn't have original ideas, because I did, and I know I did, but I was such a follow the crowd type of girl in high school.
Okay.
I wasn't one of those people who sort of like stood out, did their own thing, did their own ways. I wore the clothes that my friends wore, and I listened to the music that everyone listened to type of thing. I've had the same best friends since the literal 6th grade, and it just sort of became one of those things that it's like, and they are literally my sisters, they're my best friends, but it's like one of those things that like I felt myself forming my personality not around me and who I was, but just around familiarity.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what everyone else is doing, and that I just did what I felt was like right, you know what I mean? And I never tried to stay out of that line because to me it was so important to be like everybody else, to fit in and to be liked. Yeah. Or even unnoticed was good enough for me. Yeah. Anything that wasn't negative attention is literally all I cared about. Yeah. And then coming to Central, it was sort of one of those things that it was like, COVID gave me a lot of self-reflection time, like way too much. That won't give me a little bit much.
You really got to know yourself.
I really got to know myself, but I really did make that decision coming into Central, and I was like, I'm not going to do that this time. I am 18 years old, and I literally had to think back. I'm like, I don't even know what my own favorite song is, because I know the songs I listen to a lot, but those actually my favorite songs, because I think I just listen to those because everyone else listens to those. You know what I mean? And it was taking the time and as much as I felt a little bit of cabin fever, being cooped up in the dorm and all that type of stuff, it really was that time, that first 2 semesters, that first semester, my freshman year, where it's like, you know what, I know this sucks right now. I know this campus isn't necessarily like everything I thought it was going to be coming into here, just because COVID, it was really, like, the first year was bad. It was dead.
I was an RA in your dorm freshman year.
It was bad. Like, I think mid-campus holds, 800 to 1,000 students? Population was like 2-something. It was just brutal. It was brutal, but looking back, I'm also really, really grateful for that time because I grew a lot and I found out a lot about myself, and I just genuinely started doing things that interested me. And I don't know, I sort of feel like I was just like starting to like learn who I was for the first time, and it's a crazy experience because it's like, who was I, and who have I been for the past 18 years? And it's like, I really felt that coming in here, not knowing anybody, gave me that opportunity to really just be like, all right, I'm going to be Delia. And then if people think I'm acting differently, it's because that wasn't me back then. You know what I mean? I wasn't acting like Delia.
Your authenticity's flowing through now.
I went from like being so consumed to just being like everyone else to like sort of having that step back and that realization. It's like, I've been taking up so much time of my life trying to just be like everyone else, to the point where I was just so confused. I was like, I don't even know what I like and what I don't like. And I think I needed that time in the beginning of my sort of coming into college, everything's changing type of like adjustment period, if you would, to really take that time and be like, you know what? I might be alone for a lot of the day, but I'm going to do something positive with that.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And I really like what you said there, and like what I kind of discerned from that was you changed what you cared about, right? You changed your priority, right? And so like whether you did that, you did do it intentionally, right? Yeah. But like, because I very much had a similar experience in high school, right? Just trying to fit in, right? Just trying to wear like preppy clothing, right? Just to fit into the crowd, just to seem more popular, right? To do all these different types of things. And like, to be fair, like we're 14 to 18, you know what I mean? Like, you're finding who you are, right? And it's just like, what I always say is like, I found my authenticity in nature, right? And it's like, just by me sitting in my backyard, right? The most simple thing, right? And just doing things that I was naturally pulled towards. So whether it be, you coming to school here, whether you like just completely changing your environment, right? So whether that be you be putting yourself in nature, you be putting yourself at a new campus, right? Completely changes, I guess you could say, what you care about in a sense, right? And I think that's like such a big thing too, because I think so many people our age are still struggling with fitting into that kind of crowd mentality, right? And so, and like, it's okay, you know what I mean? Like, that's how you've been conditioned, and very much, I'm sure, both of us, in a large sense, still, fall victim to that. And it's not easy to overcome, but I mean, do you feel like once you made that change, once you made that kind of like shift to like, okay, I'm not going to be trying to fit into the crowd anymore, I'm going to, or I should say, when it actually shifted, right, from you kind of being, I don't want to, like, don't take this in the wrong way, like, inauthentic, right, to becoming more authentic, like, what did you personally feel? Like, what was that experience like for you? Like,
it was confusing.
Interesting.
And like, I bringing up this like time period of my life, beginning of college, that first semester of my freshman year as such, like, it genuinely was a time where like I had so much self-reflection time and I really was able to get to know myself, but that isn't easy by any sense of the word, because I was starting from a blank slate. You know what I mean? I was starting because I felt like I felt conditioned, you know what I mean? And I'm not like, and I feel like I'm making it sound like, oh, I had a terrible life back home the first 18 years. Like, it's not, it's like, I had a great life. I had great friends. I had a great high school experience. But it just wasn't my most genuine self.
But internally you changed a lot.
But internally I did change a lot. And I think the sort of trigger that sort of started that, like, all right, Delia, like, what are we doing? Like, let's sort of make this change, was just being fed up with the confusion and just, like, the anxiety of feeling that, like, I was sort of just, like, that my body was taking up space and then my mind was not present. Ever. And I don't know, I feel like that's not making much sense.
So, like, okay, so when you said you were confused, right, did you find, like, your attention, it was very hard for you to be present, right? So your attention was very much on your thoughts in a large part, like, so, meaning, like, oh my God, like, what's going on? Well, like, oh my God, shit's hitting the fan, right? Like, you know, it's like fight or flight. Is it kind of like in that sense, or is it like, not like your Mayday going down on a plane, but like did you feel like you were facing a lot of thoughts? Like you said, there was a lot of reflection there, and like you were just like, what are these thoughts, you know?
I honestly think so. I'm one of 5 kids in my family. Okay. So my house is a go sort of type of house. Gotcha. It always has been. There's always people there. We're always having friends over. Yeah. And then my life, just the way it's been school, it's been sports, extracurricular activities, it's been work. And I never had alone time, really. Like, I just felt like I really was always go, even when I was home, and, like, this time that I did have, you know what I mean? Like, I still had, like, siblings running around my house, and I never really had the time to sort of just sit and just reflect by myself. Because when I am in my room bored alone, I'll just go downstairs and say, like, have my siblings, you know what I mean? It's like I never really had to be alone. And then coming into the dorm, and then, like, just a little background for people watching if they didn't go to CCSU. We were not allowed to have anyone in our dorms. We were not allowed to go into other dorms. We weren't really, like, I got written up twice just for being in my friend's dorm during COVID. Like, it was crazy.
Really? Wow, that's bad.
You know,
I never did that.
Yeah, Cal didn't write me up, but I've gotten written up, But it was just one of those things that was like, you had to, like, besides my roommate, Callie, who I had, and she was amazing, obviously, but you don't talk to her, like, your roommate 24 hours a day.
Of course.
It was plenty of hours in the room when it was sort of just me, and it was just like, I felt like I was sort of, like, stuck in, like, this conditioning of, like, breaking the habits of, like, oh, I'm going to wear this and this and this today because, you know, it's just the clothes that I have and that's just what I wear, versus, like, all right, what's an outfit that I can put together that, like, I genuinely like and that I think represents me, versus just, like, because I felt like I was saying, conditioned, not in a bad way necessarily, but just in a way that I was just doing what everyone else was doing.
Totally, yeah.
And then I sort of came into that realization, and I was just like, I'm done doing that. And at first, like I said, it was a lot of confusion because it wasn't, or even if confusion's not the word, there was just no clarity, I guess. Because it wasn't just like okay, now that I'm alone, well, I know that I like this, and I know that I like this. It's like, it's trying different things out. Like, I was listening to all types of music, you know what I mean? I was watching different types of shows that I never would normally give a chance, things like that. Just, like, I had never listened to podcasts or anything like that before. Started listening to podcasts. I've never been a reader, like, things like that. And it's just, like, things that I really just never attempted to do when I was home. But I was like, I think that these are things that could be beneficial into developing this character that I'm trying to turn into. Because it wasn't necessarily me being like, oh, I'm just going to turn into myself tomorrow after feeling like I wasn't like myself for a while. It was character development. It was developing a person who I felt like I was, but also that person that I wanted to be. Because I went into it with the mindset, I was sort of just like, I'm not just going to find out, you know, like, what I like, what I dislike, all that type of stuff. Like, cause that feeling of, like I really wanted to self-reflect, but also grow at the exact same time. And then I think that is sort of like, that's the hard part, you know what I mean? Deciding, you know what, I think it's time for me to grow. Grow out of what I'm used to, grow out of this life that I've been living for 18 years that wasn't necessarily bad, you know what I mean? Of course. It's not maybe not growing out of it, growing from it. And just continuing to develop yourself, you know what I mean? Totally.
And I really like that because, like, what I just keep hearing, like, indirectly is just, like, you lost that fear of what other people thought, you know what I mean? And it's like, because before in high school, like, I mean, or, like, I'm not saying it, like, in general, maybe, like, if you wore a certain outfit or if you, like, went outside to read or something like that, like, there would be certain comments about that would
yeah, like in high school, like I didn't even want to be seen like walking home by myself. You know what I mean? Like I didn't want to switch classes without having a friend to talk to next to me. You know, like, I was so scared of individuality. Like it scared me for whatever reason. And I know, and I've always known, and like I'm not saying like, oh, I'm like necessarily set apart, but like everyone is different from the person that they're with. And I just felt like I know inside, I know I'm different than like everyone else who I'm sort of acting like, but I don't know how. But I just know that I am.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people our age sort of have that confusion, especially coming into college. It's like, all right, I want to become this best version of myself, and I want to know myself, and I really want to do that. But that's not like an overnight process at all. And something that having all that alone time at the beginning of school, I think really, I honestly think that was sort of like as terrible as COVID and all that type of like time was. I do think that self-reflection time was something that I needed, and I do think it was sort of almost like a wake-up call.
Yeah, I mean, like it was like a blessing in disguise, right?
Yeah,
it was like, I mean, like, just because like that time gave you so much time.
It gave me time.
Gave you time to just try so many different things.
Just to try it out. And like, and I feel like that's also something that like I want to encourage people to do is like, I started doing things for myself.
Yeah.
And that is something that I really had never done before. I was doing obligations all day, every day. I would go to school for 7 hours a day because it was an obligation. I would go to sports practice after because it was an obligation. I would do my homework after that, obligation. My family, you know, when I was little, they used to put me in guitar lessons, things like that, obligation, sports practices, all that type of stuff, obligation. And I was like, and I came here and I was just like, I have all this free time. I have been doing things out of obligation for so long. I am going to take, and in COVID it was easy to take like 5 hours if I wanted to. Now I'm a little bit busy. But back in that time I was like, I'm going to take a large part of my day and I'm going to start doing things for me. And I didn't know what those things were at first. So I was just trying them out. Mine ended up being the gym. That ended up being sort of the place for me.
Yeah.
But I didn't just go to the gym like one day and all of a sudden I was like, oh my god, like I found myself. Oh my, thank you, Planet Fitness. Like I needed it. Like it wasn't like that. That was not the reality of the situation. It was just like, it was more of like, I need something that I know that I'm doing every day for me. And I need to do something that I know every day, even if I don't necessarily want to do it and I'm not always motivated to do it. The discipline of just trying to work on myself every day and set that time aside, it did worlds for not only my character development, it did worlds for mental health, stability, like all that type of things. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you feel like it built a lot of self-confidence for yourself? And like, I really like Jason's definition of self-confidence, because he's like, if you develop like in his like who you are in essence is like your habits that you develop, right? So like on a daily basis, right? So your beliefs, like, you could say you believe stuff, right? But like your beliefs are shown through your actions, like what you actually do, right? And so like he says, once you develop habits that, I guess in a sense, naturally have you aiming upwards, right? You start to develop self-love, right? And it's so
absolutely,
and it's like, and like that's
such a correlation.
I know there's such a big, because a lot of people think like self-love, oh my god, like, oh, I love myself, just like self-talk.
I'm gonna go to Spada tomorrow. Self-love,
exactly, or just go shopping, or something like along those lines.
And it can be like,
no,
don't get me wrong.
Of course,
it absolutely, self-love. It's not definable by a box. It's not definable by pattern. It's not definable by anything. Self-love is completely up to you on how you decide to, you know, display that to yourself, because that's you. So it's taking the time to get to know yourself to the point where you're like, where you're confident enough that like what you're doing can like habitually is giving yourself that self-love.
And I think that's exactly what you did like during quarantine, right? And like it took time for sure, right? And like, but you have to be alone. You know what I mean, right? Like you can't. Do. You like literally, you can. No one can be with you when you're alone. Like you're only alone when you're alone. You know what I mean? And
alone in a physical sense.
Of course,
I've had a boyfriend throughout all of this. You know what I mean?
Of course.
Because I feel like there is
not
like a boyfriend, like friends and all that type of thing.
That's a good thing to include.
Physical sense, being alone, because it's sort of just like I feel like I hear things a lot of like relationships ending because people need to grow, which I completely understand. And some people might not find that they are able to grow in a relationship, and like
it limits you.
And I completely understand that. But I'm also a very firm believer that when you are in the right relationship, it doesn't stunt growth. It
only enhances.
enhances growth completely. And I think also, so at the beginning of sort of my self-love journey,
self-improvement.
I don't think it's a coincidence that around that time I did start dating my current boyfriend. And I
shut him out.
but if we are being realistic, I know he's gonna watch this too.
It's okay.
I know, but if we are being realistic, like that's not a coincidence at all. Because although I genuinely did want to be better for myself, it also helped having a person that you want to be better for as well. Because sometimes I feel like I'm trying to like say this in like a way that makes in a way that makes sense, but like sometimes I just sort of feel like
so being with another person allows you to...
I don't think you need another, like, I'm not trying to at all say, like, you need another person to stunt your growth. You need to be better for another person because you can individually, and I think the best way to do it is to individually, genuinely want to be better for yourself. But I also think that I found a person who made me want to become a better version of myself.
Wow, that's
and
awesome.
I think that helps
so cool.
a lot. I really do think it helps. And I don't think that's something that you need for self-development at all. You don't need another person, but I do think that from a relationship standpoint, you know that you are sort of in that good, stable place in a relationship when they are sort of not your driving force, but part of the reason why you want to become a better version of yourself. And not for impressive reasons, but for genuine reasons. Not because I want to look good for him, because I want to impress him, because I want him to think that I'm this, but because you see yourself having a future with this person, but only as your best self. And so that's what you're going to give them.
Wow. Yeah, I really like that. And so if you don't mind me asking, like, what was your boyfriend, we can always cut this out if you don't want me to include it. Hey, Michael.
I told him we were going to talk about my Snapchat before this.
Okay.
I know. I was like, just saying, like, we're just going to see if he answered. That was the text that I had written out before I was going to send to him. I might talk about you all good. I don't know if I'm going to mess up your camera.
No, you're good.
Like, I'm going to talk about you all good things.
Yeah.
But I literally told him, I was like, I know, I'm most likely going to talk about him. Because he's taught me a lot. That's why.
This is exactly what I'm going into. Yeah. Did Michael have, like, a lot of... Because, kind of, like, just back up a little bit. So, I actually should ask this question first. Did Michael have a lot of, I guess you could say, admirable habits and traits about him that made you, or like just because like kind of the angle that I'm kind of coming at in as is like you wanted to be better because of, in a sense, because of like the habits and the characteristics that he had, right? And it's like and like in a sense, like to me at least, like if you're not up to that standard that they're at, right, you're not being as good as you could be, right? You know, and it's like, and I think when you develop that kind of relationship, right, with like maybe you and Michael or just like in general, right, it's like you almost feel like if you're not reaching that standard, right, you're not doing enough, right? And so it's like it's kind of this like dissonance, right, that you feel between like, okay, your thoughts and your actions, right? So like if you're just like sitting on the couch, right, and you're like, you should be going to the gym in order to
it'll eat at you.
Yeah, it'll eat at you, right? So that dissonance, and it's like, okay, I know what I should be doing, not because I want Michael to look at me in a certain way, right? But because I know that if I'm not doing this, I'm not being as good as I could be for Michael, right? And so like, kind of like my segue in that. And segue that into a question. So did Michael have a lot of? I know because you came here, you were alone, and then you said kind of. Was it like at the beginning of college that you started dating?
Yeah. So this is funny. So me and Michael started dating 10 days before I left for school to come here.
Oh shit!
And that's literally, it's very controversial, insane. That's like because the month before me going to school, obviously me and Michael were hanging out. We were talking every day. And it was something that I would hear a lot, whether it be from like, not my close friends, but like friends who you hang out with, or like people who know you but don't necessarily know your situation, sort of saying things like, to college with a boyfriend? Like, really? Like, you're gonna start dating this kid like a week before school? Like, you really think this through? Like, everyone, I think a lot of people, not necessarily close to me, but looking from the outside in of the situation, were like, what is this chick doing?
Yeah, interesting.
Getting a boyfriend 10 days before they leave for school.
It's like almost the opposite for like a lot of girls.
It is the opposite.
And boys too. Yeah.
But I can't believe I'm hyping him up as much as I am on this podcast. But it's just like when you meet the person, it's just I didn't know how else to explain it other than like he was a person who from the jump of me being with him made me want to become a better version of myself, and that was not something that I was going to throw away for any sort of college experience or anything like that, because I think that's something that's very rare, is to find a person who literally unbeknownst to them, just them being them is a motivator for you to just not even become the best version of myself for him, but also he was a very big part of my self-love journey as well.
Course, yeah.
And he gave me a lot of that confidence that I never had.
Interesting.
And I think a lot of that confidence sort of gave me the ability to sit back and be like, I'm going to do this for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't think anyone needs to get that from a relationship, and I think that's super in like, you don't need a boy to find that, but I think in my situation it was sort of like having him did give me my confidence back, or not even back, like I really didn't have any confidence back then, and I think he instilled a lot of confidence in me, and confidence I think instills growth. And so then from there I was more confident becoming myself, because he made me feel so comfortable as myself.
Yeah.
And I think when you meet a person like that who you can just sort of like, you know what, like at the end of the day, like I like me the most when I'm around you, because you you enhance my growth.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because you make me you make me want to be that person. And it wasn't necessarily because I viewed him as some goal that I was trying to achieve, like I want to be as good as him. Because in my eyes, obviously, and a lot of people's eyes, they can see like, oh, their partner's just perfect, you know what I mean, and blah, blah, blah. But it never felt like an unattainable goal that I was trying to reach, become more like him. It was like, I owe it to this man who I love and who loves me to be me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think he sort of saw a lot of like the characteristics in me that I didn't even see in myself at first, and then now I'm so proud of to have.
Yeah.
And that's not something I was going to throw away because of some college experience. No way. And I've also just never been the type of person.
God. Yeah.
I have been
just like a fling. Yeah.
I have been a relationship girl. I have
awesome.
been in a relationship almost consecutively the last 5 years.
Yeah. Wow.
Like it's just one of those things. It's like I haven't really been single since the age of 16, and it's just like, and a lot of people have their opinions on that and think like you should be, you know, like this is your best time to this is where you're going to be learning yourself and all that
to
stuff.
find as many boys as possible.
No, but it's just one of those things that it's like, no, I don't need to, because I feel so confident in my growth while I'm with this person. So why do I have to go on this journey of self-love alone when I have a person who makes it so much easier and who instills self-love in me? You know what I mean? Because I think, and then like obviously he was also a big part of me going into the gym and things like that, because he has had such a fitness background. He sort of showed me the ropes going into it, and that instilled tons of confidence in me and all that type of stuff, because that's what the gym does.
Yeah, so I just think like that is such a great, oh my god, like that, like I oh my god, like that is really, really awesome.
When we were texting about the podcast, we were like talking about like, oh, like what do you want to talk, like subjects you could talk about, blah, 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 and I was like, I think I could give some relationship advice, not because I think I have a perfect relationship, but because I think I have a stable one, and one that is
a lot of people could learn from.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
A lot of people can learn from, but also I'm still learning from it.
Of course, yeah. You're not like, it's not to say like you're a master or anything like that.
Yeah, definitely not. But I also think that like I have seen like not so great relationships versus hand in hand a relationship that I think is thriving and successful.
Yeah.
And I've sort of been able to sit back, and I've done that. I've sat back and I've sort of contrasted the two and been like, what are the main differences here?
Yeah.
And it has all come down, not all, but a lot of it has come down to me and to self-love and all that, because I was in like past relationships, and like I dated a kid in high school for a year, like, and nothing against the kid, he was a great person, great family, everything great, but it was just one of those things that like while I was dating him, I wasn't super sure who I was, and I was an insecure motherfucker, dude. Like
really?
I was so insecure in high school, so insecure in middle school. I didn't have any confidence, and I reflected that onto the person I was dating,
in the sense of, you know, like I can sit here and say I was a bad girlfriend because I know I was. And I don't think I necessarily, like, I don't think he was the best boy. Like, I'm not saying like I like this like terrible stuff to this kid. Like it was a good relationship for like, at least for the like beginning of it, but it's just sort of one of those things that like, now that I'm out of it, I can sit back and I can be like, I wasn't a good girlfriend. And I did that after we broke up. I was like, I was, you know, so hurt by this kid, and I was like, he did this to me, and he did this to me, and he did this to me, and I don't have any whatever, and well, he said that one time at that party, so I don't even care. But then it was also sitting back and being like, all right, Delia, what'd you do though? Like, what did you do in that relationship? Were you this, and this? Were you amazing? Were you, you know, like helping him grow in any sense of the way? Were you helping him grow confidence? And I was like, no, I was feeding into his insecurities most likely as well. And it's one of those things that it's like, I can sit back and although it's like, I almost feel shame in the way that I always want to be like my best version of myself type of thing, and it's like, you know what, I can sit back from that relationship because as it's been in the past and just be like, you know what, no, I wasn't a good girlfriend. I was insecure. I was probably nitpicky over things that I did not need to be nitpicky for. And I took all those differences and things that I noticed of me not being the best girlfriend, and I really applied those, and I decided in that moment, I was like, I'm not going to do that to the boy that I'm with right now. I'm not going to let our relationship be a reflection of my insecurities anymore, because it's so different, because it's like, I felt, especially, I feel the same way now, but it's like, I don't want to lose this person. And so then like the little arguments, the little nitpicky things, the little things that you just want to bitch about because you can, you know what I mean? You're like, I know he would feel bad if I said that. The attention, and behind everything, behind all of that, it's just attention seeking. And it's validating insecurities. And it's toxic behavior that I knew I was doing in my past relationship, and that I promised myself I would not carry over to this one. And don't get me wrong, you can ask him, I have days where I'm insecure and things that everyone does, absolutely, but I also don't let those days set back our relationship at all. And I think I've grown from the experience 100 times over. And it's like,
I can tell. When
you find that, and it's just like, it's easy when you find the person that you genuinely like.
You just know. You just know. And like it's clear that like, and for you to even be able to share that story, right? And being able to recognize that like, okay, like I was a bad girlfriend beforehand, right? And being able to not only face that as a person, but to share that message is so, I respect that so much. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
Because it's very hard for people, especially in a relationship.
You want to be like the victim all the time.
Exactly.
And that was me. I had such a victim mentality. I always wanted to be the person who had something wrong done to them. The one that people felt bad for. The one that could be like, you deserve better. You know what I mean? I wanted people to say that to me. You know what I mean? Like I wanted that attention, and I wanted the validation of my insecurities. And it's just one of those things that's like, when you really not, and I was 17 at the time. I was extremely immature. I wasn't thinking long term, anything like that. I was really just, I have a boyfriend, I'm so excited, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Like I was a very different person. Like I said, I was in high school, I really didn't know who I was, but it's just like, now that I am older, I'm so grateful that I did take that time to reflect and to think back, because I think it's the reason my relationship right now is going the way it was. And I also think that a lot of people need an experience like my first one in order to grow. And I think a lot of times people will reflect on their past strictly from an embarrassment point of view, which I completely understand. You know, like I don't want to tell people like, oh, I was an insecure bad girlfriend, you know what I mean, like blah blah. But at the end of the day, it's like, I am not going to go into it with the perspective of, I'm so embarrassed of who I used to was. I'm going to go into it with the, you know what, I'm proud of where I've come from, and I'm proud that I'm not that person anymore, and I'm proud that I was able to grow and learn from that experience. And then as many regrets as that can leave you with, like knowing that you potentially hurt a great person, things like that, is like,
it's hard, and I think I've dealt with like guilt for a while. Just like the relationship, like I didn't like cheat on this kid or anything. The relationship just ended.
You knew you could be doing so much better.
And I knew I could have been so much nicer.
Yeah.
I knew I could have been so much more patient. I knew I could have been so much more kind.
Yeah.
I just know I could have been a better version of myself. Yeah. And for me, ever since then, it was sort of like one of those experiences in life that you get, and I'm like, it's one of those things that motivates me now. And I'm like, I don't want to feel like that ever again. I never want to leave a situation, a human being, a moment in time, anything like that, and regret and think back to myself, I could have been nicer. I could have been more genuine. Yeah. I could have made that person smile more. Yeah. And it's embarrassing to think back of, yes, but it's also like, I know I would never do that again. And now I know I go into relationships, I go into situations, I go into moments like these with intent. Yeah. And that I think is really, really important. Yeah, totally. Absolutely. But you need experiences where you're not your best self in order to grow from them. To find your best self. Yeah. And there's people out there, I think, sometimes who, always want to lead off that they've always been their best versions of themselves. And some people may have gotten it down from the jump, but never feel bad for not being one of those people, because nobody actually is. Like, you really do. You need, I don't know, you need those experiences to grow from.
Totally. It's like, it's very fascinating to me, like, just because you've been able to grow tremendously over these past 2-3 years, right? And it's like, even with you being in a relationship and you coming to school, right? And just being able to be proactively yourself, right? Like, instead of being the victim, right, that literally seeks out reasons and whether they're legitimate or not, right? Even if they are legitimate, right? Like, what are you gonna do about it, right?
It's exactly. And just getting out of that sorry for yourself attitude. Exactly. But that being said, it's like there are some people out there, who can't, like, it may not be as easy to get themselves out of that attitude, and it's not one of those things that like will come the same way for you as it came for me. That realization, and I think that's something that like I feel like that's a big part of the message that I know I and you sort of both like try and share is that like it isn't easy to take a jump and to just decide one day to do better and to be better and to think better. It's a thought that's in the back of your head for a while before you even notice any progress. It's something that you're continuously thinking of, you're continuously building on, you're continuously, you have, and all that matters is that you have that thought in the back of your head. And if you have that thought in the back of your head now, then you think, I do want to be a better version of myself, but like, I don't know, like tomorrow, I don't know what to do tomorrow about it, things like that. The fact that you have that thought in the back of your process now, the wheels are already turning. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And for some people, it's going to be baby steps getting there. Totally. And that's completely okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
But like, you started to develop the habits that naturally brought you that self-confidence, that self-love, right? And you mentioned before that when you started to come to campus and you started to try a bunch of different things, right? And you started to spend a lot more time by yourself, physically by yourself. And one of the things that you wanted to venture into is the gym, right? Yes. And so, like, obviously, you're a big woman now. A couple years into your fitness experience, right? And I mean, like, what do you feel like you've been able to, what has going to the gym done for you? And just like over these past couple of years, obviously it's helped you build that self-confidence, that self-love, right? And just you in your relationship, right? It's helped you in a lot of ways. Yeah. And like how it has helped you in a lot of ways? Yeah,
absolutely. So for me, the gym is such a place for just growth now. But in the past, I did not have that perspective at all. Like coming into CCSU, I lived in mid-campus, right across from the rec center. I did not go upstairs. If you guys don't know, I'm assuming most people don't, but in our rec center, at least our freshman year, bottom floor was just strictly cardio equipment, and upstairs was more the weight room, all that type of stuff. I did not walk up those steps until I was an employee.
So I literally, like, it's fun, like, figuratively, I did not take those steps, but like literally, no, like I did not walk upstairs of that like building until I was an employee there. Yeah. Because I was scared. I was intimidated. I felt stupid. I felt like I didn't know what I was doing. I would be like, oh yeah, I'll hit the gym today, and you know what I mean? But I would sometimes walk into that gym, look around, and walk right back out. Like I really had no idea what was going on. I had no idea what I was doing, but I kept at it. It was just something I'm proud of myself for. You know what I mean? Because it's not easy to keep showing up to a place where you feel lost.
Yeah.
But I knew that the more time I kept showing up, the less brain fog I would start to have, and the more that lost feeling would turn into clarity and would turn into, okay, I do sort of have an idea of what I'm doing now and all that stuff. And I think physical fitness, one, it transformed my body. I have a body I'm now proud of versus having a body in high school that I necessarily didn't like. I didn't look like way too different or anything like that. But it was it was never something that, you know, I could say, if you asked me, hey, you proud of your physical appearance? I literally would have hidden a bush or something. Like, no, like I was not at all. Like the complete opposite. Like I have done the I'm not good enough for years of my life. Years, and it took years of my life throughout high school. All I did was compare myself to other people, whether that be at my school, whether it be on social media, whether it be famous people, whatever it may be. And it's a habit I'm still continuously working on now, but I know that I've grown so incredibly much from. And a big part of that has become the gym. Because yes, I do have a body more so that I'm now proud of, but it's more than that. It's knowing that I took those steps to do something continuously every day for myself, and I don't know how to explain it. Whereas I'll explain it like this. If 2 years ago me had woken up with the body I have now, I would be just as insecure. Just as insecure as I was, because it was a complete mental mindset thing. No matter what you necessarily look like, your mind is always going to lie to you. It is always going to convince you that other people aren't seeing what you see, or that you're seeing it is convincing you that you look ways that other people don't see. It is always going to do that to you no matter what. I could have woken up with Kim Kardashian's body the next day, and I would have been just as insecure because it was such a mental block. It was mental conditioning of years and years and years of, you might be pretty, kinda, but you're not this pretty, or you're not this pretty, you're not this pretty. And then I heard a quote. It's like, flowers are beautiful and so are Christmas lights, and they look absolutely nothing alike, but it doesn't take away from either of their beauty. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just something I sort of heard. Yeah. And that I've also, and I heard it and I was like, yeah, whatever, fucking bullshit, whatever. And then now I actually feel like I heard the quote again a little while ago, and I was just like, yeah, it's something that I actually genuinely resonate with now that I never did before. And again, it was just, yes, it was building my body at the gym, but it was also building my mind mentally by consecutively showing myself the self-love of just showing up. Because just showing up when you really don't want to is such an underrated form of self-love, because you're overcoming your mind and all of those blocks it's putting in your way, and because you're showing up for yourself even when yourself doesn't necessarily want to. It's like you're overcoming yourself for yourself type of thing, and I feel like I'm saying yourself a lot. But
you get the point.
Take a shot every time I've said yourself in this podcast. No, but seriously, it's like, it wasn't necessarily even the physical change. It was just the I'm finally doing something that I'm proud of, and I'm finally working on me and building those habits. I learned so much. I would go home and do research for the gym and all that type of stuff. It's just because it was something that I had for me, something that I could control. And I think a lot of people, especially at our age, we have very, very limited range of control over our lives. And I was like, this is something that I can control. This is something that for me, it is self-love. You know, it might not be the gym for you. It might be reading for you. It might be painting. It might be playing your guitar, like something like that. I don't know, like anything. But it was something that I was doing for me for the first time ever, because in my past life, it's just been one life.
Previous experiences.
My previous experiences, every time I've entered a gym, it has been from a self-hate point of view. It's been from a standard of, I hate myself and I want to look better. And I finally I got into that habit of walking into those gym doors like, I get to move my body today. I get the opportunity to work on myself today. Not everyone gets that. Not everyone gets the ability to just move their body however they want freely, things like that. And it's just one of those things that is like, I'm so done taking that for granted. And I didn't realize that until I kept showing up. And it's one of those things that's not an easy thing to do, to keep showing up, especially like there are some people in way worse situations than I've ever been in, clinical depression, things like that. It's like I understand like some people can't get out of bed type of thing.
That's
and it's
brutal.
just like, but I can't reiterate the fact enough that as however hard that first step is, continuously showing up and taking that step, no matter how hard it might be, is a game changer. And it really is just like one of the, in my opinion, one of the best
Dude,
forms of
yeah,
self-love
I
that you
mean,
can give yourself.
Dude, it is like very similar to you. Like when I first got, like I used to be a very like insecure kid, you know, just like, you know, skinny fat as I like to say, you know what I mean? Yeah,
yes,
exactly. Like, you know,
yes.
like, yeah, sure, you're not fat, but like, you know, you're not necessarily, like you said,
But
you're
you
not
weren't in
necessarily.
shape. It was nothing to be proud of.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I
and
mean?
it's like, but once you start, because like for me, like when I first got into the gym, like sure, maybe I wanted to have like a better physique, right? But it's almost like you get to a point where like you just know you look good. You know what I mean? It's not to say like you're putting yourself on a pedestal or anything like that, but like you know, like objectively speaking, you have developed a physique that literally shows that you've put the work in. You know what I mean? And it's like, once again, not saying you're better than anybody else, not saying like this, that, and the fourth, right? But and then as a byproduct of that, like since you just know inherently, right, you just lose that fear of what other people say, right? And so, and then in addition to that, like, obviously, you know, like research shows that like, you know, it's like weightlifting, cardio, just moving your body has such a great mental effect on you, right? And it's just like, it's like a form of meditation in a sense, right? And, but also too, it's like you said, just showing up, developing that habit, right, is just, and just, you know, putting your body through, good suffering in a sense, right, is so beneficial, right? Because you're constantly challenging yourself and you're constantly growing from those challenges, right? So,
and I personally, because like from my point of view, my life standpoint, like I am going to talk about, you know, the gym, physical fitness, because that's my life, my perspective. But for people watching, it may not be something physical for them, you know, physically. It could be mentally developing your brain every single day through like, you know, reading books, like the stimulation like that. It doesn't necessarily, I feel like sometimes people, when you bring the topic of going to the gym, in a sense, I feel like a lot of people, like, especially if like people who are struggling or anything like that, and it's like, oh, have you tried to go to the gym? I feel like it can come across as almost like an insult. You know what I mean? Like, why do I look like I have to go to the gym? Like, who are you to tell me to go to the gym? And like, I don't want to, I never want it to come across like I'm ever saying that or anything like that, because self-love can come in so many forms.
Different forms,
So many different forms, and there's so much out there that you can do every day for yourself. It's just what I know and what I've learned has been the gym. And statistically, it is proven that moving your body produces dopamine, and it freaking helps you out, bro. It really does.
Dude, it does.
But that's not to say that that's the one-size-fit-all solution, because there's no such thing as universal advice, is what I like to say.
Yes.
No such thing as universal advice. Everyone's situation is completely different.
Yep, 100%, right?
Yeah.
And like you said, like, you know, there's so many different avenues that you could go down.
Oh, yeah.
And like, it's so interesting too, because like when you start to change your environment, it has a drastic effect on your world internally, right? And it's
really
so in a sense, like you've been able to control, like you said, we have very limited things that we can control, right?
Yeah.
And one of those things is your attitude towards things, how you relate towards things, right? And so you, at least in my opinion, really started to shift your attitude, right? So you used to go in the gym with a self-hate attitude. Now it's a self-love attitude, right? You chose that attitude too. And like the fact that we can control that, right? The fact that we can choose to be like, okay, I'm going to go to the gym because I want to build a better mental mindset, and I want to be someone that my partner is proud of, right? It's something like that. It doesn't have to be like that, but it's just like, it's such a valuable thing that people, not never, but few and far between realize, right? And it makes such a big difference. And I think for your case specifically, like you kind of, maybe you didn't consciously realize that you were controlling your attitude towards things, but I think that you being able to control your attitude towards things, your response towards things, right, So like you get put into mid campus alone, right, during COVID. Worst circumstance possible, right? Like, and not saying like, there's not other worse circumstances out there, but like it's pretty rough, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of college students I remember at that time were like, campus sucks, this
Yeah.
shit's ass, like I
It was
fucking hate it, right?
brutal,
It sucks. And like there's some truth there, 100%, without a doubt.
Oh,
But
yeah.
if you can be in that kind of circumstance and find a lot of value in that, imagine what life is going to be like when society, campus turns back to normal, right? It's just like when you find that nugget of like, wow, just the gym, for instance, right? Or being alone in your room with no one else, right? Like on the face of that seems so bad, but you just being alone in your room
Yep.
transforms your
Yeah.
life. You know what I mean? So it's really about that perspective that you choose, and I think that's a lot of what happened to you.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's crazy to see how that's transformed your life.
It's almost like that time acted as sort of like a buffer for like in the
Yeah.
middle. It's like, because it was sort of one of those things that I told myself, like, it doesn't feel like a campus or a school necessarily where I'm at right now because of how limited we are.
Yeah.
But when it does turn back into that and it is the full college experience, I want to be my fullest self living that college experience. I don't want to be some confused and just like unconfident, just insecure like version of myself that I felt stuck as in high school. I was done with it. I was like, it's more of the time I'm like, no, I'm going to use this time and I'm going to make it so that when I am finally in the situation like where I am now as a junior, campus is booming, things like that. It's like I genuinely am now feeling like I'm experiencing it as myself, as Delia, as how I want to experience it. And I go into situations and trying to make friendships, like same with you. I go into all of that with intent now. And I never had intent in the past because I was
So
a fish in the current and I was just going the way everyone else was. And there might be people out there who feel like they're stuck in that right now. And like you're talking to the CEO of feeling like they were stuck in that. Like I felt so stuck and just like, and not in like a poor me, I'm stuck kind of way, but in like a I'm doing it to myself sort of type of thing. It's like the biggest, like there's this book and it's like the mountain is you. You are the mountain.
Yeah.
And I was done being my own mountain. I was done. I was like, you know what?
Get out of your own way.
I'm getting out of my own way. And I was completely right. The mountain was me. No one has ever, my friends back home weren't forcing me to dress the way they dress or listen to the music they listen to or play, sports because they played sports. Like crazy. Like I don't like sports. Like I played sports my whole life. I'm not like, I would rather go to the gym than play and organize. But it's just one of those things that is just like, and no one was ever forcing me to do any of those things. It was me convincing myself that that's what I needed to do because I just wanted to fit in. And it's just like coming here and I'm like alone mid-campus. And I'm like, fitting for what? What am I fitting in for? Like, I don't know anyone here. You know what I mean? And it's like, who am I doing this for? And I saw this quote. It's like, you are the person you are stuck with for the rest of your life. Like, there is no person that is going to be more involved in your life than you. Yeah. And it's like, and I was just so done with that that person being a person who was filled with just insecurity and anxiety and just like everything like far and few in between. It's just things like that. And I was just like, I'm done being that person. It's like, I am going to take this time and I'm now going to try and become the person. And I utilize the gym for this heavily. Yeah. I'm going to become that person that, I'm proud of being. That I'm like, like this is me. Yeah, yellow is my favorite color. It's not blue just because everyone's favorite color is blue. I like yellow. Like,
yellow's awesome.
My phone is like.
Oh wow! I had no idea your favorite color is yellow. That's awesome.
Yeah, no,
that's
it's
cool.
yellow. It's just
that's cool.
I don't know. It's like one of those things, and it's like I'm gonna listen to this type of music instead of this type of music, and like I'm not
no
just
matter
gonna
what people say.
Like my hometown is like we listen to country all the time, and it's like I love country still because we listen to it all the time now, but I also like. Now I realize, like, okay, well, I also love like AC/DC and the Eagles and all that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I love Led Zeppelin, but I also love like I didn't realize how much I was really into like rap and things now. And I like Kendrick Lamar. Like, I'm absolutely in love with Kendrick Lamar. I like Kanye West. Kanye's controversial actually, but
his music wise,
at least. But like Kid Cudi, A$AP Rocky, like all those SZA. But like I don't even know.
Don't get me started.
I've just like. I now like my like play like even it's just funny because it's like my playlist now is like just 400 songs of the most random type of music, 473 of the most random songs that you will ever hear in your entire life.
Wow.
Not because I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I like these songs and this song. It's because I just started listening to all genres of music and just liked things that I liked. And I was so done like doing. I feel like I was just sort of like my whole life I was just like doing things because I felt like it was what I was supposed to be doing. And I was just like so, I don't know, it was almost frustration, if you could think of it like that. Like I was frustrated with the version of myself who I was because I knew it wasn't my fullest potential.
Yeah.
And I knew it wasn't even close. And I was like, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm over it.
So you changed the reasons for why you were doing what you were doing, right? And it's like, because to me, like you said, you were going in with such a different intent, right? And it's like, when you change the reasons why you're doing what you're doing, especially in your own case, right? Like, or just like when you become who you are, right? So like you recognize that like, I'm done doing this for other people.
Yeah.
I'm doing it for myself,
Yeah.
right? And it's like, to me,
game
once
changer.
you turn that kind of inwards, right? Not like in a selfish sense,
Yeah,
right?
no.
And it's like, you start to develop like just who you are, right?
Yeah.
In your authentic
it comes
self.
Naturally,
It come naturally,
which is
right?
like a weird, because it's like almost like
You're not
back
trying.
earlier
You're not
we were
trying.
talking about, and it was like, and you asked me, you were like, all right, well, when you were, spending all this time alone, like, how did you find yourself?
Yeah.
And I even started thinking back, I was like, I don't even know. It just sort of happens.
It just
you know
sorta-
what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
it just sort of happened. Like, I was trying to pinpoint, like, oh, well, I did this, and then I realized that, and then I was like, that's like, I can't just pinpoint times when I was just like, I wasn't just lifting weights, and I was like, I love yellow. That is my favorite color. Like, it just came to me. It was just one of those things that's like, the more I just felt myself putting time into myself,
Yeah.
and not time from I need to necessarily get away from who I am,
Yeah.
but I need to get towards who I'm supposed to be. It was one of those sort of
Just-
like,
it just uncovered.
and
right?
then
Yeah.
slowly but surely, I just like naturally just started to, my personality just started to form.
Yeah.
And my personality, like I have now, like you can act, like my friends who know me back home, like it's me still, you know what I mean? Like I act a lot the same,
Yeah.
but also like I'm very, very different on how I sort of approach situations. I'm very different on how I carry myself. And like I used to, like walk into rooms head down. Like I don't walk into a room with my like looking at my phone anymore.
Yeah,
like
that's
I'm
great.
just more
Open. Yeah.
open. I'm more of like a proud to be myself type of person.
Yeah.
And in the past, I was more, not like that. I was sort of a wallflower. And it's
Yeah.
because, I never knew that, I was like that. It's just when I started to put time and effort into myself is when it just sort of came naturally. I was just like, oh, this is how I'm acting because this is who I genuinely am, rather than like, and it's because my environment completely changed as well as my mindset.
Yeah.
And it's not, I don't think it necessarily had anything to do with the people who I was around or anything like that. I think it had to do with the fact that I couldn't really be around people and that I had that time now. And I was just like, you know what? I'm going to do something with
and then
this.
like you just like you said, it just happens so naturally,
does.
right?
It
And
does happen
you just find the people that you're meant to be with. So like it's just
Exactly.
like Jason, you,
Yeah.
right? Joe, right? Like all these different types of people, right? Like I had no intention of like meeting Jason
Yeah.
or like meeting Joe or you, right? Or all
Yeah.
these different types of people. It's like everything, I mean, not everything, but in time, right? Everything just kind of falls into
Yeah.
place. And like you said, the only thing in the way is you,
Yeah.
right? And
You are the mountain.
You are the mountain, right?
Yes.
And you created that mountain, right? And it's
Exactly.
like, of course, like we have habits that we develop from our parents. We have
Yeah.
different things that we develop
yeah.
from, this circumstance that we're in, right?
There's no
But-
universal advice.
Exactly. But once, like, I feel like once you develop that kind of realization that you're like, I don't want to be this person
Yeah,
anymore.
exactly.
I'm done being fake,
Yeah.
right? Like in a sense, as bad as that
Exactly.
sound, right?
I
like
was
I'm
done being
being fake.
fake. And,
And-
it wasn't
yeah.
necessarily me being not an authentic person, not
Yeah.
being a fake person with bad intentions. I literally was fake. Like
Yeah.
I wasn't, like I said earlier,
Weren't
like I was an
being yourself.
NPC. Like
Yeah.
I just did things because I thought that's
Yeah.
that's what you're supposed to be doing.
Mm.
But like what you were saying earlier, you were saying sort of like how like things have come together, like how I've met you, I've met
Yeah.
Joe, I've met,
just
all
like
these people.
few examples,
And it's
yeah.
just, and it's so funny because I am sort of like, I've thought this for a little while, ever since I've came to Central, and I'm like, I have met the most amazing people here. And really, and I'm like, what am I, and like, and it's made me think, and it's sort of a realization I just had, and it's just like, what, like, why am I like, what is it about this place that is like, I'm meeting all these amazing people, and it's like, no, I had just as many amazing people at home. It's, you attract sort of what you put out. I, back home, did what everyone else was supposed to do. Did what I thought everyone was supposed to do. I sort of just tried to be one of the 99%. You know what I mean? I just wanted to be, you know, like I never did anything, like I wasn't overly myself. I didn't put myself forward. Versus now when I'm in school and I feel like I do enter situations, meeting people like you, like Jason, like Joe, like all those people. It's like, happens. I do feel like now I am meeting them as myself, and I'm sort of meeting them with that energy. You know what I mean? And that energy attracts people who also have that energy, like you and Jason. Like, you are people who are continually trying to work on yourself. You put your best foot forward always. You always try to become, like, you always try to put yourself as the best version of yourself. You know, you go into situations with intent. And I think that's a big reason why we attract to each other, is because I see part of me that I know wasn't easy to find in you, and I see it in Jason, and I know that, and I don't think anyone just wakes up with that clarity or anything, and I'm not saying we're better than anyone else, and that we have this crazy clarity that people don't have or anything. Similar. It's just that when I started presenting myself as me, I started attracting people with similar traits and with similar qualities that I admire, because those were now the qualities I was trying to put forward. And now that I put those forward, I'm reaping what I sow. It's like all coming back to me. I have great, amazing friends now. And it's because I wanted to put myself forward as myself, like genuinely this time though. And not just, oh, hi, like I'm Delia Mcguire. Blah, blah. It's like, no, like I genuinely, even just the way I'm interacting with people, it's just like I genuinely wanted to be me.
Yeah, no, so kind of want to just wanted to wrap up that point real quick. It's one of the most amazing quotes that I've ever heard is, you don't attract what you want, you attract who you are, right? And it's like,
I love that. I never heard that.
No, dude, I heard it from this guy named Ralph Smart, and he's just like one of the big guys that like really helped me help me along my journey, I guess you could say. And it's just like, whether it be the people, whether it be the things in your life, right? Like how you're feeling, what is out there, right? Like how you're viewing out there is a direct reflection of your current state in here, right? And it's like, and then in addition to that, like your habits, right? Like who you are, in addition to like what your mental mindset is, that is the collective energy of like who you are,
exactly.
right?
Like the saying, hurt people hurt people.
Yes.
That is so true.
Dude,
but the same is like the opposite. It's healed people can facilitate healing for people, or can at least give them steps in the right direction.
Absolutely.
Which I think a lot of kids need necessarily. Or not necessarily. I don't want to keep people saying kids. We're college students.
No,
but kids out there.
You
but
get the point,
just a lot of people might need that. You know what I mean?
Totally. So one of the big things that I know we've been working on, right? So like for those who don't know, is I'm still a videographer for Rec, right?
Volunteer.
Volunteer. No. I don't care. I don't care at all. Like, no, it's not about the money. And we've been working on this mental health program for a little bit now. We're gonna finish it up. We're gonna finish it up this week. We'll get it started officially this week. And I think it's a great program that can help a lot of kids go down the same path that we've been down.
Yeah,
right?
I agree. Yeah. So this program that he's talking about is, so I've been working on this. Cal and Jason have been huge helps in establishing this, and as well as, I don't know if Scott's gonna watch this, and I can never compliment him, but my boss Scott, he is great. No, he really
the best,
is.
Man.
He's really the best guy I've ever met in my life. But he has also been a big facilitator for this as well. Basically, it is a well-being coach program, and basically what these well-being coaches will entail is that it's a dual program between what I offer and what we offer over at Rec, in terms of sort of like there we offer fitness programs, fitness classes, personal training, things of that nature.
Yeah.
And then also combining it with health services here at CCSU, who offer therapy sessions and things like that, and guidance counseling, meditation, things like that. And basically what we are doing over here at Rec now is this program combining the two. And in a sense, what that would mean is that if there is anyone, regardless of whether you're in campus in therapy on campus or not, anyone as students or in the student body, hey, maybe even faculty too, who knows, but it is a program we made for students, designed by students, because I feel like a lot of times at universities, it's a lot of adults sort of facilitating these programs for students, and I think it's nice to come into it with a student perspective. But basically what this entire program is they're going to be well-being coaches. I myself am one. Jason Sklar is one of them, as well as a few others like Joe Iacovelli, who I know he was a little guest. He's going to be one as well. And a couple other just really, really great people. Yeah. We're going to make up a little team. And basically what this team instills is basically, I need to stop saying basically, cut out all the times I say basically. But basically what this program entails is that people are going to be able to go onto our website via the health services website. So they're going to see when they get there this amazing video that Cal is putting together, sort of just talking about the benefits that physical fitness does have on mental health and how much people can genuinely really benefit from it. And they will be able to go through and choose individualized sessions with myself, Jason, Joe, anybody who, there's about 6 of us total. And we all, have different specialties. Jason, meditation, Joe, yoga, as well as weight training and meditation. I am a weight training specialist, things like that. Malachi, who's doing it, he does a lot of body weight, high intensity interval training, a lot of the type of fitness that you could think of, as well as, yoga, meditation, physical activities that produce or that facilitate growth is sort of the whole idea behind it. Yeah. But you are going to be able, if you choose, to sign up for one-on-one sessions with,
so cool.
Me, someone else, and we will take you through those workouts. We will take you through a session. We will give you a gym tour. We will consult with you. I will write you a workout program. We will go through it together. And I think togetherness can be a really big thing for people, especially when they're starting their journey into the fitness world, the world of fitness, because it's scary. You have a million people on the internet telling you what to do, telling you what not to do. She said to do this, and he said that does the exact opposite. What out there is true and what is not. Everyone is certified. These are real, fact-checked fitness advice, and we're giving it to you, no cost at the student. We just want you to be taking that step into, regular self-love. The whole point of this program is that students will reach out to have a friend in the gym with, to have someone. We're trained on both the personal training sides of things, but as well as the mental health, that we're going through a whole training with health services over it as well. We really are just going to be people who are going to be there for you. We're going to give you that warm introduction into the gym. We're going to meditate with you, yoga, whatever it may be. Things, physical activities that have been proven to help, and that we also have had experience with, and that we have tried ourselves, and that we really think can have the potential to help people out there with just even if it's not necessarily you're trying to get your dream body, because that's not what it's about. It's about you coming in to the gym or wherever it may be every day to just continually do something for yourself and to show yourself self-love. And that habit is going to do so much for you, and it's just a habit we are trying to introduce through this program.
So great. And guys, it's I cannot say enough about the program. Like,
it's gonna be good.
It's gonna be amazing. My camera's about to overheat,
That's
so
okay.
let's wrap this bad boy up. Check it out. I'll link it down below. And
It'll be good.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. It's awesome. It's awesome.
Thank you for letting me talk about it.
Yeah, of course.
I hope people utilize it. And if you need a friend in the gym,
you know who to call.
Website,
Yeah, and
dude. We will be there for you.
And
students.
The priority is the students, right? It's not about money. It's not about, looking a certain way to make Central look really good, right? It's about you, right?
Really
it's
is.
about helping you live a more preferable life and sustaining that life.
And doing it from, the perspective of going into it with a friend.
Exactly.
Of going into it with someone who is going to make you feel more comfortable in that situation, because all that's going to do at the end of the day is ease, that growth. Yeah. It's going to make it easier.
Awesome. Sweet. Hit that button for me. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that has been episode number 77 of the Conscious Cast.
Oh, yeah.
I'm your host, Cal, along with my great, great friend, Ms. Delia Mcguire. Where can they find you, Ms. Delia?
I'm on Instagram at Delia Mcguire 5. In terms of that, otherwise, I spend all of my time at the CCSU Rec Center.
You can find her there.
You will find me there.
Alrighty, guys. Make sure you love yourself because I love you. Stay handsome, and we're clocking out, people. Peace.